On June 14, 2021, deep in the canyons, hundreds of teenagers dance in the waters of a shallow river. Booze and various substances are ingested and passed around as the young people have the time of their lives in the daytime rave. 17-year-old Leah is dancing to the upbeat music, downing a bottle by herself and enjoying the atmosphere. But Leah admits she's only faking the enthusiasm and has never felt more alone. She sees her best friend Roman flirting with the DJ Dora. Leah is surrounded by loving couples kissing and dancing with each other as she wonders what love is. A few minutes later, she asks the dealer Orso for more substances, but he denies her since she looks wasted. She sneakily grabs some from his bag and walks away. Later, Leah is screaming her frustration and sadness out loud in a deserted part of the canyon. She holds the pink tablets in her palm and cries as she thinks about ingesting them all at once. She drunkenly stumbles on the rocks, falls on the ground, and spills the tablets everywhere. To her right is a skeleton arm sticking out from the ground. She sees a silver bracelet around the skeleton's wrist and touches it. Hours later, Leah is at the police station staring at the bracelet, wondering who the person she found could be. The police officer, Miriam, tells her she might have opened a cold case. She adds that the victim is most likely male due to the height and thinks the person took their own life. On the car ride home, Leah's mother, Karine, is furious that Leah didn't tell her where she was and that she's grounded. When they get to her family's leisure center, where they live, Leah's father, Stefan, hugs her as Leah's grandparents rush out to meet her. They ask her about what happened, and she tells them she found a body. In her room, she changes her clothes, tells Roman she'll call her tomorrow, and goes to bed. The next morning, a young man wakes up and looks around, confused at the unfamiliar room. He sees a boy sleeping on the bunk bed, screams, and covers himself with his hands. The boy is startled awake and screams back. The young man bumps into the doorway and feels a sharp pain in his groin. He looks inside his boxers, and Leah's voice in the man's head is in disbelief. Leah is somehow trapped in the body of a man she doesn't know named Ishmael. Leah stumbles to the bathroom and sees Ishmael's reflection in the mirror. She splashes water on his face and convinces her brain to wake up from the bad dream. When Leah puts on Ishmael's clothes in the room, the silver bracelet drops on the floor. Leah picks it up and realizes that the body she found might be Ishmael's. Leah makes her way to the kitchen, where the Messayudin family speaks to Ishmael in Arabic, which Leah can't understand. Ishmael's brother, Sufyan, notices his strange behavior. Leah tries to explain to Ishmael's family that he isn't who he is, but they brush it off. Leah goes out the door and Sufyan follows her, quoting lines from Full Metal Jacket, a movie Ishmael loves. Leah explains that she's never seen the movie, and she woke up in Ishmael's body because she touched his bracelet. Sufyan believes her because there's no way Ishmael doesn't get the movie references. Sufyan thinks it's a body snatcher situation and advises Leah to go back to where it all started, the Verdon Gorge. Sufyan gives Leah directions but doesn't think Ishmael can get out of helping in the harvest. Sufyan still doubts Leah's story and thinks Ishmael is messing with them to go to his audition, but Leah has no clue about an audition. Their father calls them to go to the orchard. At the orchard, Leah pretends to help with the harvest and signals Sufyan to create a diversion. She finds a way out of the orchard, but Pierre-Yves, the orchard owner's son, sees Ishmael leave. Leah reaches the cement road and flags down a truck. The men tell Ishmael to get on, but as he's about to climb in, the men push him off, call him a racial slur, and drive off. Later, Leah continues walking along the road and removes Ishmael's shirt because of the heat, and two young women pick him up to give him a ride. In the back seat, Leah curiously inspects Ishmael's body and the women laugh at him. Leah recognizes her hometown as they pass through it, and gets out of the car. She walks toward a movie theater with a large billboard of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. She asks a teenage girl, Sandra, what the date is, but she tells him to get lost. Sandra and her friends listen to an old song on a Walkman, calling it this summer's hit. Leah realizes that she's in the year 1991, exactly 30 years ago. Moments later, Leah finds a phone booth but doesn't know how it works and feels dejected. Suddenly, a woman named Patricia picks Ishmael up from the phone booth and takes him with her. In Patricia's car, she tells him she's putting him on the big stage if his band passes the audition, but Leah doesn't know what she's talking about. Patricia takes Ishmael to Leah's family leisure center, and Leah sees her grandparents only 30 years younger. They know who Ishmael is, but Leah doesn't know how to explain the situation to them. Her grandfather tells Ishmael that his friends are in the boathouse waiting for him. Leah enters the boathouse and sees a guy playing the drums and a girl playing guitar. They both greet Ishmael enthusiastically, and Leah recognizes her parents. Leah tries to explain to Karine and Stefan she's their daughter, born in 2004, but Patricia walks in, ready for the audition. Karine hands Ishmael a guitar, but Leah doesn't know how to play it. Karine and Stefan start playing, and Leah is in awe of how cool her parents are, but they fail the audition because of her. Patricia leaves, and Ishmael's father arrives to pick him up. On the car ride home, Ishmael's father scolds him for sneaking out and that his boss's son saw him do it. They could lose their house if his father gets fired. Leah apologizes to Ishmael for ruining his life. Back in Ishmael's house, Sufyan is mad at him for making up a story just to do his audition. Leah sees Ishmael's notebook and flips through it. That evening, Leah reads Ishmael's notebook near the orchard and gets to know him better. It's filled with song lyrics Ishmael wrote and today's date circled in red ink, showing Leah how important that audition was for him. Ishmael had so many big dreams, which Leah thinks is uncharacteristic for someone who's taken his own life. She wraps the notebook in a plastic bag and buries it under a tree for her to find in the future. Seconds later, Pierre-Yves arrives on a motorcycle and beats Ishmael up for sneaking out. He berates Ishmael, insults his father, and tells him not to sneak out again. Later in the shower, Leah is curious and explores her new body. She falls asleep in the bathroom, still in Ishmael's body. The next morning, June 15, 2021, Leah wakes up in her own body. She searches for Ishmael's name on her phone and finds a blog written by Sufyan with an update on his brother's case after discovering a body in the gorge. He asks anyone with information to attend the town meeting that afternoon. Later that day, Leah drives her mom to work, where she sees adult Pierre-Yves, who now owns his father's business. She informs Roman that she's ditching the first period. After taking a bus to the orchard, Leah finds the tree and digs up the notebook, further proving that it wasn't a dream. A few hours later, Leah meets up with Roman and tells her about everything. Roman doesn't believe Leah but agrees to accompany her to the meeting. That afternoon, in the meeting, Miriam speaks to the townspeople, which includes Karine, assuring them the discovery of the body doesn't mean there's a killer on the loose because the person passed away a long time ago. Leah raises her hand and says the body she found was Ishmael Mesayuddin's because of his bracelet and believes he didn't take his own life. Adult Sufyan feels vindicated with this information. He expresses his frustration at the authorities for not caring about Ishmael's disappearance because of his race. After the meeting, Karine is livid at Leah's behavior, and as they leave, Sufyan approaches Leah and thanks her for the information, even if he doesn't know how she got it. She tells him it's because she's a body snatcher. On the drive home, Karine says she didn't know Ishmael that well, and she was only at the meeting to pick Leah up. Leah wonders why her mother is lying to her about Ishmael. In her bedroom, Leah admires Ishmael's drawings and lyrics. She wishes Ishmael had a nice future and that if he didn't take his own life, who could have done it? The next morning, June 16, 1991, Leah wakes up in Karine's body. Leah wonders why she woke up as Karine and not Ishmael, and whether this connects her mom to Ishmael's death. Leah finds a lockbox containing her mom's stash and pictures, including one of Ishmael. An Eiffel Tower keychain has a drawing of two silhouettes with "Next Year, Future Dream Apartment" written on it. Leah assumes the silhouettes are Karine and Ishmael and speculates that they might have been more than friends. After getting dressed, she walks into the living room and sees her grandmother, who she's only seen in pictures. Her grandmother hands her a package and reminds her to mail it. She gives her grandmother a big hug. Outside the apartment building, Leah's grandmother mentions Karine going to college, but Leah knows her mom never went. She takes Karine's moped to school, where Stefan spots her. He leans in for a kiss, but Leah turns her head and lets him kiss her cheek instead. She turns, sees Ishmael walking toward them, and tries to hide a smile. Ishmael says he didn't remember anything from yesterday and woke up on the bathroom floor. Ishmael mentions his missing notebook and apologizes to Karine for messing up the audition, promising to make things right. Leah can sense Stefan getting jealous, so she agrees to a kiss on the lips. In the girls' bathroom, Leah washes out her mouth, and Sandra tells her she'd do the same thing if she had to kiss Stefan too. Leah accidentally calls Stefan Dad out loud, and Sandra and her friends make fun of her. She calls them the Spice Girls, but they don't get the reference. Later, Leah sees Ishmael and suggests they skip class. They take Karine's moped and stop at a record store, where he talks to Patricia to give them another chance. Leah overhears Ishmael telling Patricia that they plan on playing gigs in Paris next year, so Leah surmises that Karine is lying to her parents about college to get money and become a rock star. Minutes later, Ishmael grabs a guitar and hands it to Karine, but Leah tells them he should be the one performing. Ishmael sings a song with lyrics alluding to a forbidden love while looking at Karine. The song also has prescient lyrics that eerily mirror his death. After the song, Ishmael reveals that Karine composed the song, and he wrote the lyrics to Our Secret. From the record store, they take Karine's moped just outside the orchard, and Ishmael leads them to a secret garden where illegal plants are growing. Leah hears gunshots and sees Pierre-Yves shooting soda cans. Ishmael tells her that Pierre-Yves is probably there to ensure no one steals from his plants. Leah slips and yelps, alerting Pierre-Yves, who sees them. They run through the orchard with Pierre-Yves chasing and shooting at them. Leah is hit on the arm, but they manage to get away. Minutes later, Leah looks at the wound and Ishmael tells her it's only pellets. He licks his thumb and presses it onto Karine's wound. They walk to a clearing and Ishmael takes off his clothes, asking her if she'll join him for a swim. Leah worries that this could be when Ishmael dies, so she tells him not to jump off the cliff. Ishmael asks Kareen why she'd be so cautious today and jumps into the water. Leah makes her way down to the water, yelling out his name, but he pops up from behind some rocks to Leah's relief. He asks her what's wrong, but she can't tell him why she is so worried. Later, they sit on the rocks listening to a Walkman. Ishmael leaves for a moment and Leah opens the envelope her grandmother gave her. Inside is a cassette tape addressed to London. She plays it and hears Kareen's voice introducing herself and claiming she wrote and composed Our Secret before singing her version. Ishmael returns, listens to the song, and tells Kareen not to sing his lyrics and write her own. Leah still doesn't have a clear picture of Kareen's and Ishmael's relationship, so she takes off her shirt, but Ishmael just looks at her and smiles. She tells him they should tell Stefan about them, and he agrees. A few minutes later, they swim and wrestle playfully in the water. Leah sits on a rock and Ishmael joins her. They stare at each other and Leah takes a chance and kisses him. He stops her and asks why she did that, knowing full well that they're just friends. Leah realizes she has feelings for Ishmael and not Kareen. She blames what they smoked on her odd behavior. Ishmael is relieved and thinks they should go. From the canyon, they go to the boathouse, where Stefan sits on the couch holding a video camera. He asks them where they've been and they tell him about booking the gig, but he's unhappy they went without him. They come clean about their Paris plans and want him there too. Stefan reminds them he's taking over the leisure center and can't go to Paris. Ishmael answers that he and Kareen can't stay in the town just because Stefan's made his choice. Ishmael leaves to give Stefan and Kareen time to talk. Stefan feels betrayed and accuses Kareen of sleeping with Ishmael. He leaves the boathouse and Leah follows him to the pier, where he punches a wall in anger. Leah assures him that nothing's going on between Kareen and Ishmael, but Stefan is still mad and wants her to leave. Leah had no idea her dad could get so jealous. Leah returns to the apartment and her grandmother asks about the package. Her grandmother gets mad when she finds out that Leah forgot to mail it. The London address on the envelope is a conservatory that her grandmother has been saving up for Kareen to attend. That night, Leah gets ready for bed and ruminates about the day. The secret she thought her mother had wasn't about a love triangle at all, but it was making different promises to two people. Going to a conservatory in London or busking in Paris. The following morning, June 16, 2021, Leah wakes up in her own body. She asks her parents if they ever thought of moving to Paris or London. Kareen asks her how she knows these details. Leah asks Kareen why she never left, and Kareen tells her to worry about her own choices. Leah tells Kareen that she was lucky her mother supported her, while she just gets yelled at. Stefan diffuses the situation and tells her she can always take over the leisure center if she wants to. A few seconds later, after Stefan leaves, Kareen tells Leah not to do what she did and leave. Leah asks her why she never left, but Kareen doesn't give her an answer. Later, Leah finds her dad's camera and tapes. In the same bag, she finds a photo album. Leah rides her bike to school, where she stares at Ishmael's picture in the middle of class. After class, they hang out by Dora's food truck and wonder how they can watch the tapes. Dora comes over and says she can find them a VCR to watch the tapes. Leah sees Miriam and walks over to her. Miriam tosses her a newspaper and asks her if she's a medium. Leah reads the article headline announcing that the body was indeed Ishmael's. Leah tells Miriam about how Pierre, Eve, and Ishmael hated each other in high school. That afternoon, Leah returns to the spot where she kissed Ishmael, listening to the same song they listened to. When Leah gets home, she sees Miriam finishing up a conversation with her parents. Leah asks Kareen why she acts like Ishmael isn't their best friend. Kareen explains that remembering Ishmael is too painful and that they'd rather not talk about him. Inside the house, Leah sees Kareen's iPad and takes it to her room. She unlocks the iPad using the same combination from the lockbox. She opens the emails and discovers Kareen's affair. Later that night, Leah hears her parents' voices, so she sneaks closer to eavesdrop. Stefan accuses Kareen of stifling him for 30 years, and he's had enough. He plans to talk to the police tomorrow and asks to be alone. He goes to the pier, where Leah sees him destroy a guitar in anger. Leah begins having doubts about her dad's innocence.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.